The fluorescent lights of Highland Park Market buzz overhead as I push my cart through the organic produce section, my heels clicking against polished concrete floors. At 33, I've learned to shop on Thursday evenings when the crowds thin out and I can actually think. My navy blazer still carries the faint scent of the boardroom where I spent 12 hours debugging code that will save my company millions. But right now, all I want is to grab dinner ingredients and decompress at home. Have you ever had that moment when your peaceful evening gets shattered by the one voice that instantly transports you back to feeling 12 years old and inadequate? That's exactly what happens when I hear my mother's sharp tone cutting through the gentle hum of shoppers and soft jazz. Simone, what are you doing in the expensive section? You know you can't afford organic nonsense on your little computer salary. Her voice carries across 3 aisles, drawing glances from other customers who suddenly find their shopping carts fascinating. I freeze, my hand halfway to a container of locally grown strawberries that costs exactly $4.99, less than what I spend on my morning latte. Diana Harris appears around the corner of the dairy section like a storm cloud in designer workout gear, her perfectly styled silver hair catching the overhead lighting. She's pushing a cart overflowing with name-brand everything: Haagen-Dazs ice cream, premium steaks, imported cheeses that cost more per pound than most people make in an hour. The irony isn't lost on me, but I've learned that pointing out contradictions to my mother is like trying to negotiate with a hurricane. "Hi, Mom." I keep my voice level, professional, the same tone I use when presenting quarterly reports to executives who could buy and sell small countries. Just picking up a few things for dinner. She surveys my cart with the critical eye of a customs agent searching for contraband. Greek yogurt, wild-caught salmon, fresh herbs, a bottle of decent wine, nothing extravagant, nothing that should warrant commentary from someone whose cart looks like she's catering a small wedding. But this is Diana Harris, and finding fault with my choices has been her favorite hobby since I learned to walk. Organic herbs? Really, Simone? You always were too proud for your own good. I've been telling everyone at book club how worried I am about your spending habits. Living in that overpriced apartment, driving that fancy car, you're going to end up broke and begging me for help. Her voice rises with each word, and I watch a young mother quickly steer her children toward the cereal aisle to escape the family drama unfolding in produce. The familiar heat of shame crawls up my neck, the same burning sensation I remember from countless childhood moments when she'd critique my outfit choices in front of my friends or announce my grades, both good and bad, to anyone within earshot. I'm a senior software engineer at one of Dallas's most respected tech firms. I own my condo outright, and my savings account has more zeros than most people see in their lifetimes. But standing here under these buzzing lights, listening to her catalog my supposed financial failings, I might as well be 16 again, apologizing for existing. "Mom, I'm doing fine, really. My career is solid, my finances are stable." "Stable?" She laughs, the sound sharp enough to cut glass. "Honey, playing with computers isn't a real career. What happens when they replace you with someone younger, someone prettier? You should have listened to me and become a teacher like your cousin Rebecca. Job security, good benefits, summers off. But no, you had to be different, had to think you were smarter than everyone else." I grip the handle of my cart tighter, my knuckles white against the metal. Around us, Highland Park Market continues its evening rhythm. The soft beeping of scanners, the rustle of paper bags, the quiet conversations of couples planning their weekend meals. Normal people living normal lives, not performing family dysfunction in the vegetable section for an audience of strangers who just want to buy groceries and go home. The worst part isn't the criticism itself. I've built up armor against that over the years. It's the public nature of it, the way she weaponizes my embarrassment. Knowing I won't fight back in front of witnesses, she's counting on my professionalism, my desire to maintain dignity, to keep me silent while she tears me down with surgical precision. I just worry about you, she continues, her tone shifting to false concern, the voice she uses when she wants plausible deniability. Living alone in that expensive building, no husband, no children, spending money on fancy food like you're some kind of celebrity. It's not sustainable, sweetheart. Reality is going to hit you hard one day. I stand there absorbing each word like physical blows, watching other customers pretend not to notice our family drama playing out between the organic kale and free-range eggs. This is my life. 33 years old, successful by any reasonable measure, reduced to feeling like a scolded child because my mother has made public humiliation into an art form. But something is different tonight. Maybe it's the exhaustion from a particularly challenging project. Or maybe it's the way the evening light slants through the store's tall windows, highlighting the absurdity of this moment. For the first time in my adult life, I find myself wondering, what if I stopped absorbing her criticism and started asking questions instead? 3 weeks later, I'm standing in my corner office overlooking downtown Dallas, watching the sunset behind glass towers, while my phone buzzes with the third call from my mother this week. Each ring feels like a small invasion, a reminder that no amount of professional success can shield me from family dynamics that follow me everywhere like shadows. Simone, thank God you answered. Her voice carries that familiar edge of manufactured crisis. I'm at Highland Park Market again, and my card was declined. Can you believe it? The embarrassment. There are people here I know from the country club. I need you to call the bank immediately and sort this out. I lean back in my ergonomic chair, the same one where I solved a critical server issue that saved our biggest client last month, and feel that old familiar tightening in my chest. Through my window, I can see couples walking hand in hand toward restaurants where they'll share quiet dinners without family drama, following them like persistent rain clouds. Mom, when was the last time you actually checked your account balance? The question slips out before I can stop it, and I immediately brace for the explosion. Are you suggesting I don't know how to manage my own finances? I've been handling money since before you were born, young lady. This is obviously some kind of banking error, and I need you to fix it right now. Her voice rises to that pitch that used to make me scramble to apologize, to smooth things over, to make whatever was wrong somehow right again. But tonight, something shifts inside me. Maybe it's the satisfaction of closing a $2.3 million software contract this afternoon. Or maybe it's the way my colleague Jennifer looked at me with genuine respect during our client presentation. Whatever it is, I find myself asking another question instead of immediately offering solutions. What exactly have you been buying lately? I scroll through my laptop, pulling up banking interfaces with the efficiency of someone who's spent 15 years making technology bend to her will. Because your usual monthly expenses shouldn't exceed your Social Security and Dad's pension. The silence that follows feels loaded, like the pause before thunder. Through my office speakers, I can hear the ambient sounds of Highland Park Market, shopping carts rolling across polished floors, the gentle hum of refrigeration units, the soft background music designed to make spending money feel comfortable and easy. I don't appreciate this interrogation, Simone. I'm your mother, not some client you're auditing. But there's something different in her tone now, a defensive quality that reminds me of how she sounded when I was 12 and caught her eating the cookies she'd forbidden me to touch. Mom, I'm trying to help you figure out why your card was declined. If there's a banking error, we need to identify the problem. I'm using my professional voice now, the calm, logical tone that makes CEOs listen when I explain why their favorite software idea won't work. Can you tell me what you've purchased this week? Another pause, longer this time. In the background, I hear a voice I don't recognize saying something about calling security, and my mother's sharp response telling them to mind their own business. The familiar second-hand embarrassment washes over me. Even from 20 miles away, I'm experiencing the ripple effects of her public scenes. Fine. If you must know, I bought groceries, normal groceries that any reasonable person would purchase. Premium steaks because your father deserves quality meat after working his whole life. Organic produce because we're not getting any younger and need proper nutrition. Wine for when the Hendersons come to dinner on Saturday. Each item is delivered with defensive precision, as if she's presenting evidence in a court case. I pull up her checking account on my screen, something I've had access to since Dad's stroke 2 years ago when they needed help organizing their finances. The numbers that appear make my coffee grow cold in my hand. Whole Foods charges for $847. Williams Sonoma purchase for $1,200. 3 separate wine store visits totaling $890. A clothing boutique charge for $650. All in the past 10 days. Mom, you've spent over $3,000 this week. The words come out more sharply than I intended. Your monthly budget is $1,500 total. No wonder your card was declined. Don't be ridiculous. I haven't spent anywhere near that much. But her voice wavers slightly, the same way it did when I was 8 and she insisted she hadn't eaten my Halloween candy despite the chocolate stains on her fingers. The pieces start clicking together with the satisfying precision of debugging complex code. The expensive items in her cart that night 3 weeks ago, her constant criticism of my spending while she buys imported cheese and premium wine, the way she always seems to know exactly how much things cost when she's lecturing me about financial responsibility. Have you ever had that moment when you realize the person criticizing your choices has been making far worse ones? That sinking feeling when you understand that their judgment isn't coming from wisdom, but from projection. That night, I sit in my living room with bank statements spread across my glass coffee table like pieces of a puzzle I'm finally ready to solve. The soft glow of my laptop screen illuminates columns of numbers that tell a story I've been avoiding for months. Outside my floor-to-ceiling windows, Dallas sparkles with the lights of people living their own complicated lives, but none of them feel quite as complicated as mine right now. The truth emerges with devastating clarity as I trace the automatic transfers I set up 2 years ago. Every month, without fail, $2,800 moves from my checking account to theirs. I told myself it was temporary, just until they got back on their feet after Dad's medical bills. But looking at the dates, I realize it's been happening for 24 months straight. Nearly $70,000 of my income, quietly subsidizing their lifestyle while my mother lectures me about financial irresponsibility. My phone buzzes with a text from Jennifer, my colleague and closest friend since our orientation day 5 years ago. How did the client dinner go? Heard you crushed the presentation. Her enthusiasm feels like sunlight breaking through storm clouds, a reminder that outside my family dynamics, I'm actually quite good at my life. I screenshot the banking summary and send it to her with a message. Found out why my mom's card was declined today. Apparently, I've been accidentally funding her shopping sprees while she criticizes my spending. The response comes back immediately. 3 shocked face emojis followed by, "Girl, we need wine, now." An hour later, Jennifer sits on my couch, her dark eyes wide as she reviews the same bank statements that have been giving me a headache. She's wearing her favorite vintage band t-shirt and jeans, her natural hair pulled back in a silk scrunchie, and she's making the face she usually reserves for particularly incompetent code reviews. "Simone, this is insane. She's been spending your money while telling you that you're financially irresponsible." Jennifer's voice carries the indignation I haven't quite worked up to feeling yet. "You realize she's been gaslighting you, right? Like textbook emotional manipulation." The words hit differently when someone else says them. Gaslighting, manipulation. These aren't terms I associate with family relationships. They're words from psychology articles and workplace harassment training. But sitting here, looking at the evidence, I can't deny the pattern Jennifer's pointing out. "I set up the automatic transfer when Dad was in the hospital," I explain, needing to justify my own choices as much as understand them. Their insurance didn't cover everything, and Mom was so stressed about money. I just wanted to help them maintain their lifestyle. "But when did helping become enabling?" Jennifer asks gently. "And when did their lifestyle become more expensive than yours? Look at this. She spent more at Williams-Sonoma last week than you spend on groceries in a month." I pull up my own spending from the same period. Modest grocery bills, gas for my reliable Honda Civic, a few streaming service subscriptions, and one dinner out with colleagues. The contrast is stark enough to make me laugh, but it's the kind of laughter that comes when you realize the joke's been on you all along. The worst part is how she makes me feel guilty about everything I buy. I continue, scrolling through more transactions. That night at Highland Park Market, she was carrying a cart full of premium everything while lecturing me about a container of organic strawberries I can easily afford with my own money. Jennifer reaches over and closes my laptop with gentle firmness. "Honey, you need to understand something. This isn't about money. This is about control. She's been using your generosity to fund her lifestyle while simultaneously undermining your confidence about your own financial decisions. That's not love. That's manipulation." The word hangs in the air between us like a challenge. Manipulation. It feels too harsh, too clinical for the woman who raised me, who taught me to read, who stayed up all night when I had pneumonia at age 7. But it also feels accurate in a way that makes my chest tight with recognition. Do you know that moment when someone names the thing you've been feeling but couldn't articulate? When the pattern you've been living becomes visible from the outside and suddenly you can't unsee it. What if I just stopped the automatic transfers? The question feels dangerous, like suggesting we burn down a building instead of renovating it. What if you did? Jennifer's smile is encouraging, but not pushy. What's the worst that could happen? She'd have to live within her actual means like every other retired person in America? The confrontation happens exactly where it started, in Highland Park Market on a Thursday evening, under the same fluorescent lights that witnessed my humiliation 6 weeks ago. But this time I'm here with purpose, armed with printed bank statements and a clarity that feels foreign but empowering. I find my mother in the wine section, naturally, examining a bottle of champagne that costs more than most people spend on groceries in a week. She's wearing her country club tennis outfit, white from head to toe, and she looks genuinely surprised to see me approaching with determination instead of my usual apologetic hesitation. Simone, what a pleasant surprise. I was just picking up something special for the Morrisons' anniversary party this weekend. She holds up the champagne like evidence of her social importance. Crystal, because they deserve the best. You know how I feel about buying cheap gifts for important occasions. Mom, we need to talk. I keep my voice steady, professional, the same tone I use when delivering quarterly reports to executives who could make or break my career. About your finances, about our arrangement, about what happened here last month. Her expression shifts almost imperceptibly, like a door closing behind her eyes. I don't know what you mean. If this is about that silly card issue, the bank sorted everything out. Simple computer error, just like I said. I pull out the folder I've been carrying and open it on top of a display of imported olive oils. Bank statements, transaction histories, transfer records. 2 years of financial truth laid out in black and white under the store's bright lighting. The papers feel substantial in my hands, like weapons I never knew I was carrying. Mom, I've been transferring $2,800 every month to your account for 2 years. Nearly $70,000 of my income has been funding your lifestyle while you lecture me about financial responsibility. Each word comes out clear and measured, backed by documentation that can't be argued with or dismissed. The color drains from her face so quickly I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. But then I remember every public criticism, every attempt to make me feel small and irresponsible. Every moment she made me question my own competence while spending my money on luxuries I wouldn't buy for myself. That's completely different, she says, but her voice lacks its usual conviction. That money was for your father's medical expenses, for necessities. You offered to help with our bills. This is from last week alone. I point to a highlighted section of the statement. Williams, Sonoma, $100 to $200. 3 trips to the wine store totaling $890. A boutique purchase for $650. Mom, these aren't medical expenses or necessities. This is luxury shopping funded by my salary while you tell everyone I'm financially irresponsible. Around us, other shoppers begin to notice our conversation, the same way they noticed her criticizing me weeks ago. But this time, I'm not the one being humiliated. This time, I'm the one holding the evidence. Excuse me, a voice says behind us. We both turn to see a tall man in a Highland Park Market manager's vest, his expression professional but concerned. Is everything all right here? We've had some concerns about raised voices. My mother immediately shifts into her charming public persona, the voice she uses with waiters and bank tellers and anyone she needs to impress. Oh, everything's fine, just a family discussion about budgeting. You know how it is with young people these days. They need guidance about financial responsibility. The manager nods politely, but his eyes keep moving to the bank statements spread across the olive oil display. Ma'am, I don't mean to intrude, but I couldn't help but notice. Aren't you Mrs. Harris, the account that's been having payment issues? My mother's face freezes. I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Your daughter has been covering your grocery bills for several months now, he continues, his tone gentle but factual. The automatic payment setup she arranged? We have you listed as a secondary on her premium customer account. She's been paying for your purchases since last spring. The silence that follows feels like the moment after lightning strikes, when you're waiting for thunder to shake the world. My mother looks from the manager to me to the bank statements and back again, her carefully constructed narrative crumbling in real time. Have you ever watched someone realize their secret has been exposed to exactly the wrong person at exactly the wrong moment? That instant when their private manipulation becomes public knowledge and there's nowhere left to hide. That's not, she starts, but the words die in her throat because there's no explanation that makes this look good. A year and a half later, I'm standing in my newly renovated kitchen, preparing dinner for Jennifer and her partner Marcus, when my phone rings with my mother's contact. The automatic anxiety response that used to flood my system has softened into something more manageable. Awareness without paralysis, caution without fear. Hi, Mom. My voice is steady, cordial, the tone I might use with a colleague I respect but don't particularly trust. Simone, I wanted to call and let you know that your father and I have made some changes to our budget. We've been working with a financial advisor, and we're living within our means now. There's something different in her voice, less commanding, more careful. I also wanted to say that I understand why you stopped the automatic transfers. I lean against my marble countertop, the same one I could afford to install with the money I saved after canceling those monthly payments. Through my kitchen window, I can see couples walking their dogs in the evening light, people living uncomplicated lives that don't require detailed documentation and boundary management. I'm glad you're working with a professional, I say, and I mean it. Financial planning is complicated, especially in retirement. The conversation continues for 10 minutes. Surface-level pleasantries about work and weather and Dad's improved health. She doesn't apologize directly, that's not her style, but she also doesn't criticize my choices or offer unsolicited financial advice. Progress comes in small packages sometimes. After we hang up, I return to chopping vegetables for the curry I'm making, a recipe I learned from YouTube because I finally have time and energy to try new things. The automatic transfers that used to drain $2,800 from my account every month now go into a high-yield savings account I opened for vacation planning. Next spring, I'm taking that trip to Thailand I've been postponing for years. Jennifer arrives with wine and stories from her latest project, and we settle into the comfortable rhythm of friendship that exists without hidden agendas or financial complications. She asks about my mother without judgment, listens without offering solutions, and validates my choices without requiring detailed justification. This is what healthy relationships feel like: reciprocal, honest, supportive without being enabling. You know what I realized? I tell her, as we sit on my balcony watching the Dallas skyline light up against the evening sky. I spent years afraid that setting boundaries with my family would damage our relationship. But the relationship was already damaged. I was just the only one trying to fix it. And now, she asks, refilling our wine glasses with the moderately priced but excellent bottle I bought without guilt or second guessing. Now I have relationships that feel good instead of relationships that feel necessary. I think about my chosen family, Jennifer, my colleagues who celebrate my successes without minimizing them, my neighbors who wave when they see me and don't require anything in return. I still love my parents, but I don't need their approval to validate my choices. So, the evening air carries the scent of jasmine from the gardens below, and somewhere in the distance I can hear the soft hum of traffic from people heading home to their own complicated but hopefully authentic lives. My phone sits silent on the side table. No emergency calls or financial crises requiring immediate attention. Last week, I ran into my mother at Highland Park Market again. Same store, different dynamic. She was buying reasonable groceries with her own money, and she complimented my career success without any qualifying statements about financial responsibility. We had a pleasant 5-minute conversation that ended with genuine smiles and no one feeling diminished. The young woman who used to absorb criticism while holding organic strawberries she could easily afford has been replaced by someone who knows her own worth, independent of other people's opinions. That transformation didn't happen overnight, and it required making choices that felt uncomfortable at first, canceling automatic payments, having difficult conversations, accepting that love doesn't always look like financial rescue. What relationship in your own life might improve if you stopped trying to fix it with money, time, or energy that could be better invested in your own growth? Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is allow people to experience the natural consequences of their choices while you build a life so fulfilling that their approval becomes nice to have rather than necessary to survive. The woman I am now chooses her battles, values her peace, and spends her money on experiences that add joy rather than obligations that drain energy. And every time I grocery shop without drama, I'm reminded that ordinary moments can be extraordinary when they're lived authentically.